It's that time of the week. Once again, it's time for another season of Creator Series starting tonight with the F2 series. I'm John Harris and I'm joined by Harry in the commentary box. Harry, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, John. Thank you for asking. Yeah, very excited to open the Stream of Creator series for another season where we'll have some great fun tonight.
Yes, indeed, and fun is the word. We have gone through the rules a little bit, done a little bit of tinkering in the background to ensure that there is even more chaos than last season. I know that's a very difficult concept to entertain. However, I can assure you it is indeed possible because tonight we are at Singapore. Not only are we at Singapore, we are with default fixed setup, which I'm sure our drivers are very happy about.
Yeah, no, I think if I was a driver, I certainly would have just given up and fell asleep for tonight's race because there is no way you'd be catching me driving around Singapore with no setup. I mean, it's probably one of the most difficult tracks on the calendar. I mean, it's especially that new middle sector is actually a little bit faster than it used to be, and it's just like with a fix up. I don't envy them tonight. I'm glad I'm sat up here.
So, in your opinion, what's the difficulty with the fixed setup? The traction, the understeer? Tell us a bit more about that.
It's just the understeer, I think, most of all, with the lack of downforce. But then I think it's also more like the entire package as well, because what you can do when you adjust your setup and stuff, you kind of make your suspension work nicer and softer and plusher or stiffer or whatever, however you want to set it up, and you work that in conjunction with your wings, with your diff, all of that stuff. So it does become more tricky when you have nothing at all to adjust with. And it's just going to make the whole driving experience a bit more difficult, more sort of raw, and we're going to see who can adapt the quickest tonight for sure.
I was about to say, yes. There's definitely no bumps on the circuit, no tricky corners, no hairpins, no blind corners. No, everything's fine. And no walls to hit as well. So everything should go well. The standard format is still the same. We have a sprint race followed by one-shot qualifying, followed by a longer feature race. So that format is familiar. However, for the drivers, a familiar track might turn very unfamiliar with that default setup.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I mean, even around Singapore, despite the fact we do have all of our tight walls and fixed setups for tonight, you can get some great racing around there. I mean, we've seen it plenty of times in the past on the F1 games and in real life as well. Because obviously it is a bit tighter, you get people following maybe a little bit closer, maybe being a little bit more ambitious with their moves. That does create our carnage and chaos, the fun that we have promised you. So let's just see what the drivers deliver, because I mean every race is different, but especially with these new F2 cars, and it is F2 cars as well, so it is going to be even closer. So let's just bring it on, let's see what's going down.
And I'm hearing we won't have too long to find out as we are loading into the session apparently. And here we are, pictures of that, waiting for drivers to get onto the grid. I cannot wait. The heartbeat is already rising. The anticipation is right there. We'll have to wait and see whether there's a formation lap, I'm being told as well. Everything is adding to the speculation right now. At least there's no rain on the screen. That's one good thing. I think the drivers will be praising the Lord a little bit that everything is sort of going to plan for them. But let us see. The drivers taking a little while here. They go onto the grid. One light. And indeed, there is a formation lap. Good, right. We can settle into things. Lovely stuff as the drivers get underway onto the formation lap. Do you think with these cars they need to do anything special with the tires? Are they going to try and not get the temperatures too high? What's a standard formation lap with these cars?
I think it's just, again, it is just all about getting the temperature in quickly. Again, the lack of setups here, there is going to be a little bit of reduced traction off the line compared to how they normally would, so I think that warming phase is going to be just a little bit more important than we've seen in previous Creator Series F2 races. But yeah, it's just going to be, we're going to see how quickly the leader does get himself to the grid. Again, he doesn't want to have too much of a gap, otherwise those tyres are going to cool down just a little bit, perhaps too much, and he will be jumped off the line. They're also not going to be wanting to back it up too slow. A spin already?
I think that was done.
You can tell this is going to be good.
The car. Yeah, I was just thinking that's an aggressive tyre warm-up, but it was nearly a Romain Grosjean experience in Baku. But there's no Ericsson in this race, thank God for our drivers, so everything is good for them. But yeah, definitely, it's one of those unknown question marks with new cars, isn't it? You don't know exactly where you're going to sit in terms of the grid. Now, the grid standings for this race are based on the performance of sort of the trajectory, let's call it, that the drivers had last year. So, but then again, that's thrown into disarray with the new cars. We'll have to wait and see whether that grid is indeed accurate to their performance.
Yeah, indeed, and I'm sure there'll be a few people in and amongst themselves that aren't perhaps maybe meant to be there, but that's what adds to the chaos and the carnage. And oh, a nice little smile, Formula
Yeah,
Kai.
love
I
to
think
see it.
he's excited as well.
Yeah, you love to see it. I love the formation lap when I'm driving, the build up to it, the anticipation, just trying to get yourself into that focus mode, the rhythm, maybe get those last little bit of nerves out of the way as we've got our first drivers already lining up on the grid. So they've gone shot all the way off into the distance. And yeah, I think some of our drivers look very keen, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's promising to see that they are keen and they are excited to get going, as that will obviously produce us a fantastic race. Let's get it on with it. Let's get these lights going out.
So here we go, waiting for the last drivers to line up on the grid. Here we go. Everybody in place, waiting for those lights. Look, but don't stare at them. It's very, very easy to miss the start like that. Here we go. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. And sooner or later, away we go. A very slow start for some of our drivers. A lot of wheel spin off of the line with that fixed setup, and it's chaos into turn 1. Arsenault keeps the lead, but behind him, it's a 3 wide into turn 2. Incredible stuff. Drivers avoiding each other for the moment. Be good picking up a load of spots. And just as I say that way, I think we've got a spinner in the background. Haven't picked up who it is quite yet. Hoodie Pete and Biggood fighting still into the 4th turn there and onto the straight.
Yeah, no, Hayden Gullis was the one that did go round in the Prema car. We didn't quite get a view of the contact, unfortunately, but yes, he has been sent spinning and towards the back of the grid.
Oh, and contact as well. Was that Dirk Chocolate around? I think it might have been. Serious contact there, and that's a lot of front wing damage, and another car off in the background. I'm trying to pick up who that is. I think it might be Alex Gillen looking at the leaderboard there. So absolute chaos on this first lap. Drivers trying to get used to the cars, but it is not working out for the moment, and a lot of wing damage as we're hearing in the background. It's to many multiple drivers.
I know, but what was promising though was the ART got off the line very well. Clearly just had his tyres in the right window and got the best launch of his life, as there was literally no wheel spin on that car. But there was plenty from the drivers behind, and yeah, it was Pondon, I think, that found himself around again somewhere in the back. As we now start to see them battling once more. F1 Scott moving himself up into P5.
Formula Karim and Alex, F1 Alex around in the background as well. 2 spinners off of that very tight turn 14, I think. But yeah, it's absolute chaos at the moment. You can see drivers locking up a lot, trying to get used to the car and to their settings. They'll have to adapt, as you said, to their driving style and have to find out. And it looks like Arsenault is just driving off into the distance at the moment. He's got the setup or sort of the feeling of the car absolutely nailed down at the moment. But it'll be interesting to see whether people can catch up to him toward the mid part of the race. 12 laps in this race. It's quite a distance still.
Yeah, no, of course, Singapore being a bit of a shorter lap does add to our distance, as we do have a yellow flag in the first sector. Trying to pick out what that is for. There is also 3 drivers that have pulled themselves into the pit lane to get rid of some broken front wings, get some fresh bits of carbon on. I wish I had the money to change my wings like that. That would be a rather nice dream.
Indeed, some very costly first lap for quite a few of our drivers. We have quite a train of cars at the moment, and as I say that, we've got Formula Kai, Alex Gillen and Chesnoid Gaming doing overtakes left, right and centre here, battling for positions. So definitely not the overtaking corners that I expected stuff to happen, as we've got Kryzik's overtaking test will as well. So many actions going on at the moment. Down the inside goes Formula Kai, thinking of a move on Adam Sanderson, and we've got Your Sincerity around as well. It's all kicking off still on lap 2.
Yeah, absolute carnage in the mid-pack as they file their way through that new middle sector. We've got F1 Scott. I think he's on the back of Good trying to find a move down the inside, but he's not quite close enough to do so, and will have to settle back for some more DRS. I think DRS should be enabled now, if I'm correct. So get that rear wing open, and look at this little battle between Luke and Infratic. Infratic just getting in front of Luke in the Dams car. Van Amersfoort leading the way in that little battle now. Perhaps a little move. Doesn't think about it. It's very sensible to keep his distance there for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they thought about it. He did think about it in the last turn, but thought wiser and thought maybe I'll just get them on the straight with the DRS. It's looking pretty good for F1 Scott here on Biggood. With the DRS, I think, open, you can see the difference in straight line speed here. That rear wing working to good effect, and the overtake has been effectively done before the turn. Very good traction off of the last corner. A little mistake, I think, by Hoodie Pete. Just in front there, going a bit wide, losing half a second, I think, just with the oversteer over the curb there. A very big curb on the exit there. And a spinner, and I think that is, who is that? Luke Howick and what? Yes, indeed, two drivers getting caught out there in that very slow section of turn 7 and turn 8, just coming together. It's very difficult to spot your braking zone, and it's just now that Luke Howard, he's lost the best part of 10 seconds, I think, maybe a bit more in that accident. As we've got F1 Scott and Hoodie Pete now. Hoodie Pete looking very on the defensive right now, and it's looking like he hasn't got the car in the sweet spot. Understeering a lot, and that allows F1 Scott to just get up the inside there and put himself in a prime position to get an overtake done here.
Yeah, indeed, he is smiling all the way as he now powers his way. Oh, a bit of lagging and glitching on our screen, but he was still not quite close enough to take that move away as they do make their way around that final corner now. Again, DRS will be active for F1 Scott coming down the pit straight as Chesnoy Gaming picks up that 3-second time penalty, and there goes F1 Scott with the DRS assistance to the inside, perhaps a little bit later than he wanted to make that move, but he finds himself now up into P2. Look at this further in the background, we've got Dan Moran, Adam Sanderson and Alex Gillen and Formula Kai, and a little bit of bitter contact there between, I think that was Adam Sanderson and Alex Gillen, getting very aggressive close to the wall. And, well, Dan Moran has got a front row seat to this incredible bit of racing that we're just seeing in front of us now as they make their way down the next DRS zone. Plenty of rear wings opening, plenty of overtakes, unfortunately. Oh, no, he's gone wide, Dan Moran. He has just gone wide, picking his braking point just a little too late, but I don't think that'll go. Oh, no, to the inside. Look at that. To the inside, I think.
Kryzix.
Will. Oh, it's Kryzix, sorry.
Kryzix to the inside. What an overtake. Incredible stuff. I mean, can you believe it? Just a little bit of a lock-up into that turn, and it was enough to just open the door, and oh, he's hit the barrier, I think. Test Will has hit the barrier just on the inside of that turn, judging the grip a little bit. He thought he was going to get understeer, and then a broken front wing, probably serious damage on the car. He's going to have to pit for repairs, as up the inside goes Ultra Killer, but nearly spun around Test Will. So Test Will getting himself in quite a bit of incidents right there. He'll be hoping to have a bit more consistent feature race, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, it looked a bit, because to me, it didn't look like he even hit the barrier. He just kind of like slowed down a little bit. There we go, to the inside does go Alex Gillen on Adam Sanderson. That chicane of a place where you don't usually see too many overtakes happening, but now you've got to look for Kryz, who is right on the back of Adam Sanderson as they come round that final corner now. He will have DRS. He does have the better exit. Adam also having some wing damage, but it's a pretty fair and even drag race. In fact, the Prema possibly doing more as he goes to the inside. There's no wheel banging. Great clean racing as Adam drops down around the outside. There's a little bit of a spin for Kryz, and he's going to lose about a second because of that. It completely threw off his exit speed. That's going to cost him a bit of time. I think Adam might have gone a little bit deep there. And now Kryz gaining a little bit more time again, but it's going to be another lap before he's back inside that DRS range and can possibly mount a revenge attack.
From my perspective, I think that was Kryzix just slamming the door shut, saying, you are not doing an overtake right there. You're not going to do that to me. You're going to have to wait for a more legitimate overtaking spot. But it's surprising how these cars are delivering in terms of on-track performance. This is really entertaining. The just level of shenanigans we've seen in the first 5 laps already has been more sometimes than we've seen in some races in the previous seasons. And this is very, very encouraging for our new season of racing, that's for sure. as we've got Formula Karim and Pondon racing in front. Maybe if F1 Alex can get in the mix as well as Formula Karim moves up. And yeah, F1 Alex looked to see if he could get an overtake done. These are the people that pitted for a new front wing after lap 1. So they're kind of hindering each other, trying to get up. They'll be wanting some kind of safety car or something to bring them back into the mix. That's for sure. I don't even think they have done their mandatory pit stop, so we'll have to wait and see for that one. It's a sprint race. There's no pit stop, I'm being informed. That is just me doing a commentator's thing. Don't worry about it. Over to you, Harry.
As we look to this little battle between Infratic and Dirk Chocolate, a little bit of oversteer as Infratic does enter the first corner, making their way down once more, hard on the accelerator pedal for both drivers. A couple of drivers also in the background as Dirk, a little bit of a slide. That's not the prime way to take that corner, as now we head on to this back straight. DRS open for Infratic. He thought about the inside, the door was closed firmly on him. He now moves to the outside, and that becomes the inside for the left-hander. And Infratic making a great little move on Dirk Chocolate. And now look at this Formula Kai in the background, getting it also ahead of Dirk Chocolate as well, capitalising on Dirk a little bit slower, coming through that left-hander because of the overtake from Infratic and allowing himself in the dams to jump up to P6.
Yeah, Dirk not looking too frustrated from that. I think he saw that one coming, to be honest, with the way he went into the previous corners. He'll be looking to just stick to the back of these cars. He's in a little bit of a train, but he's got Alex Gillen behind him, and that snap of oversteer, more like a rally car around that corner, just lighting up the rear tires. And that means that Alex Gillen's right on the rear, and it will be down the inside, getting the overtake done. Oh, huge amount of understeer, nearly into the wall, but he gets it done. However, it's not over yet. Dirk Chocolate can come back at him in this not main straight, long straight, let's call it. And yeah, no, Alex Gillen manages to defend, and he is safe for now. He'll be looking to pull away and get onto the gearbox of Formula Kai for the moment. Good defense.
Yeah, indeed, great defending and great driving from both of them, to be fair. As now we've got yours sincerely and not Gratz having a little squabble. And look at that beautiful switch back from the one Trident on another as they're wheel to wheel coming down this main straight, coming down into turn one. One with DRS, one with not. They're still going to be wheel to wheel to the one jumping across the inside on the little bit of runoff, but they're still going to be squabbling, still trying to find. But there is now a little bit of a gap where Gratz has managed to get himself ahead of yours sincerely. Interested to see the two teammates gobbling away. Yours sincerely also does have a 3-second penalty, but now we'll be coming back at him with some DRS before they make their way down into turn 7. Great defensive positioning from the driver in front to ensure there was no way round for yours sincerely.
Indeed, and meanwhile up toward the front of the pack, I can inform you that F1 Scott is indeed gaining on Arsenault, so we might have a battle for the lead before the end of the race. There's enough laps to do it in, and behind them we have a train of cars from Biggood all the way down to Dirk Chocolate, effectively battling for the podium position, the last podium position, and it's going to be absolute chaos for them, especially at the start of the season. They've got effectively nothing to lose. The points have been reset, and so they can go at it 110%, as we are seeing. I think that is Big Hoodie Pete having a go already at Biggood and just deciding that maybe DRS might be a better place to try and make the overtake on a straight. Although Formula Kai is looking very racy at the moment. He got a perfect exit, but will he be able to get something done? It forces Hoodie Pete to go defensive and take a suboptimal line. Can he keep it around the outside? A little bit of argy-bargy, but they're still making double contact. And I think Hoodie Pete has been spun round by that and has collected Infratic as well. Unfortunate in there. Just a little bit, I think, of a racing incident, argy-bargy stuff, and it happened, sadly.
Yeah, indeed, it was aggressive from both drivers. One trying to force the gap to appear, one desperate to not allow that gap to appear, and it sort of culminated in an unfortunate spin. F1 Scott also has lost himself some time, so wonder if Arsenault had made a mistake on the previous lap, or perhaps Scott has made a mistake on his lap. One of them certainly...
Was he a front wing?
He is going rather slow.
He's lost
It's good.
another second in one sector. I think he
He's
is in
got to have
trouble,
damage.
F1 Scott. This is not looking favourable for F1 Scott here. He's lost another 3/10 in just a couple of corners, and I think maybe that car might be limping home at the moment, as we've got an overtake here. Formula Kai on Be Good, that's 2 positions in 1 lap, maybe up the inside. Be Good defends it, and into the barrier goes Formula Kai. Alex Gillen profits from that by going all the way up the inside, and may even get an overtake done on Be Good. Let's see if he can. He goes to the inside, trying to get the line. Last of the late breakers, both of them locking up. Be Good all the way round the outside, keeping the line, keeping the inside line, but Alex Skinner getting the better traction off of the corner. And there we go, Alex Skinner making the move stick. And Formula Kai now trying to get that overtake done that he didn't manage to get done before, as he ended up in the barrier. He's going for it now, the aggressive move, saying, you put me in the barrier once, I'm not going to let you do it to me again. And up the inside now. And Be Good has lost 2 positions in the space of a sector there.
Yeah, great aggressive driving from Formula Kai to get that move done, but brilliant stuff from Alex Gillen as well onto the podium. And now right on the back of F1 Scott, there's no wing damage. I'm not sure he's really slowed down. There's no, maybe his tyres are really worn out. Everyone is on the same compound of tyre, I believe, so not sure how he's managed that. But he is definitely slowed down considerably from where his pace was previously, which is it's rather surprising. I'm sure we'll hear about what happened to that after the race. But yeah, this is certainly going to bring a few more drivers into the battle for the podium places, especially with the slower speed that Scott is going at the moment. So let's see how that unfolds.
I can almost hear the team radio in my ears. Bono, we're going to lose this race, Bono. My tyres, they won't make it to the end. But indeed, for F1 Scott, that is desperate news, as he's still got effectively 3 and a bit laps to go. As, Be Good trying to defend from infrating, and it looks like he tried to get the power down and just spun up the rear tyres with no grip left. He's gone into a 360 spin and is only just now recovering after having lost 4 places there, as Dirk Chocolate and Kreisig are going at it as well. In the background there, you can just see them in the distance, and I think Kreisig just managed to defend that one for the moment. Alex Gillen looking to get the job done on F1 Scott. I think the lead is too far away now, but you never know, with the tyres maybe going off a cliff at this stage of the race. Definitely it looks like the tyres are done and dusted, maybe just dropping outside of that temperature window, or even tyre wear window, who knows. This stage of the race, you can see both drivers struggling a little bit off of that turn and going for DRS now. Alex Gillen, this should be quite a simple move. F1 Scott looks to defend a little bit, but slots in just behind to get the braking zone done. Nice, done and dusted for Alex Gillen. And away, chasing after the lead at the moment. Do you think he can make it up to the lead? What's your opinion?
And unless we have some catastrophic wing damage, puncture, maybe some iguanas on the track, wouldn't surprise me around Singapore. That's the only way I can really see the lead going down that much within the next 3 laps. Or maybe Alex Gillen has just been he's been sandbagging for the first bit and suddenly pulls up a few seconds a lap quicker than everybody else. That's the only possibility I see of him taking the lead of this race.
Having been teammates with him many seasons ago, I can say that's definitely a possibility. The gap already down by about half a second, so we'll have to stay tuned for that one. I think there is rain right now on the screen. I'm seeing a few drops of rain, so with effectively 2 laps to go now, could we see a little bit more, treacherous conditions going on onto the track, especially with the tyres being worn down as they are, as we've got Formula Kai, F1 Scott battling, as well as, Infratic about 2 seconds behind, so maybe just catching up with this battling trio at the moment. F1 Scott, who struggled with the tyres, is managing to stick with Alex Gillen here, which is not what I expected, to be honest. So it'll be interesting to see whether he was just cooling down the tyres or doing some sort of strategy. But indeed, with 2 laps to go, there's not much time to get anything done if there's any opportunity. Oh, in the background, we've got someone spinning. Who is that? Was that F1 Scott? No, it was emphatic with a huge snap of oversteer and into the barrier. And Krysik's profiting from that opportunity as we've got Formula Kai past F1 Scott as well. It's all kicking off with this rain. The confidence of the drivers really being the key factor now.
Yeah, indeed. And what's interesting about F2 is there is no intermediate tyres for them to go on. It's either full wet or dries, and especially with only a couple of laps remaining in this race, they will be staying on the dries until the very end. Although we have got a few drivers already on some wet compound tyres, Testwill, Chesnoid and Guatz all going on to some wet. So let's see how that plays out to them. You can already see the oversteer of some of these drivers in these wet conditions. And look at the lack of grip from Formula Kai. It's just wheel spinning. I mean, he must be in about third or fourth gear finding wheel spin. DRS disabled. That's always a great sign that the rain is too heavy. And Scott looks a little hefty into the braking zone. Luckily, he is able to get it turned round just in time. There will be no DRS assistance as F1 Alex has retired from the session. He has lost a lot of time, Formula Kai, actually. Alex Gillen in front, and there we go. He's gone off again at the 16-17 chicane. A lot of drivers struggling. This is where drivers with a lot of confidence and a lot of knowledge of this circuit will be able to capitalise and gain a lot of places. Wet tyre runner, look at the grip he's got compared to Adam Sanderson. He was able to easily get past, and look at how much the struggle in front, a little bit of a slide, but it's no problem for those wet compound tyres as Formula carry him dispatched easily. Guat might find himself, it's going to be a stretch to get to the points, but should some driver, I don't think he will actually get any points, but it could be, we never know. We have to see if anyone finds himself in a spin. Be Good also diving into the pit lane now as well, very late on. I suppose if you are not getting points at the moment, it might be worth a shout to get some wet tyres on and see where that will put you come the checkered flag.
It's a long lap. It's probably in wet conditions almost a 2-minute lap. So it is possible to gain a lot of positions. We're seeing drivers struggle a lot, even on the wet tyres, really, with the grip. But definitely it looked from previous footage there as if Guatz was playing on 0% difficulty there for a brief second. So indeed, you can see the grip difference as we've got Arseno having a huge kick of oversteer there through that slowest section of the track. We're talking turn 12, turn 13, just getting around that hairpin there and trying to get the power down. But as you can see, the road is just glistening as if they were on sheet ice right now. And this braking zone, in fact, the braking zones of this last sector are just absolutely treacherous. Turns in, there is no steering whatsoever, nearly into the barrier, just avoiding it by a couple of millimeters. That has been the closest he has been to any sort of problems in this race, it must be said. And to nearly throw it away, you could see by his reaction how close that was. But it's looking like, at the moment, he's got the job done. Although Alex Gillen is gaining at a vast rate of knots, maybe one more lap and it could have been enough. With F1 Scott being challenged for third place. There's Alex Gillen. You can see him in the same camera shot at the moment around the last turn with a kick of oversteer, just Formula Drift style across the line. He wins the first F2 race of the season with Alex Gillen in second place in F1 Scott. Rounding out the podium, Formula Kai just doing a drift across the line. Lovely stuff.
Yeah, indeed, and this rain is really heavy now. I think most drivers that will score points. Oh, big crash. He has indeed. DNF for Hayden Gullis there. I think that would have just been on the power. Lots and lots of wheel spin. It is full wet conditions now. And that is rather unfortunate for him. There we go then. I think all of our points.
Hoodie Pete, actually, I think gambled for the wet tyres, and I think he's collected a couple of points right there. Oh, it was Be Good I was thinking about. My apologies, once again, commentator doing commentator stuff. But it's definitely, it was maybe one more lap on the wet weather tyres could have been the correct strategy there, but a very, very difficult one when you're on track with worn tyres and no grip. I do not blame drivers for trying, but you've got to say for Arsenault, that's a very solid performance for the first race of the season. Alex Gillen as well, working his way up the grid, what a race! What a first race! What more can I say?
Yeah, indeed. I mean, there was just action everywhere. I don't think there was even a single corner where there wasn't something going on across our grid. And yeah, it was an incredible race and a very dominant performance from Arsenio in front. A very deserved win. Let's see what he can bring to the feature race then.
Indeed, it will be interesting to see what our drivers can do with a little bit longer strategy coming into play. Maybe a bit more, I don't know, familiarity, let's call it, with the car and with the setup. Once again, I'll remind you it's default setup or fixed setup, and the backflip there on the podium. You gotta love it. Finish the race in style, using all that little bit of extra energy left in the driver. I'd love to see a driver try a backflip on the actual podium once again. Let's see if the Formula One drivers can do it anytime this year. I'm sure their team bosses would not allow that. That's for sure. That's a little bit too risky.
Yeah, no, you would not want to be coming into work after, and after that one, you'd be getting a big bollocking from PR, HR, the whole shebang. The whole team would just be, instead of congratulating you, they'd just be booing you, like, what were you doing? You'd have broken your neck. Could only imagine the health and safety forms to do that as well. I'm not jealous.
Just want to point out, Alex Gillen started 21st on the grid, and through all of that chaos, made his way up to second as well. Formula Kai as well, making a huge performance from P15 there. A few drivers, we thought, especially Hayden Gullis, we thought they'd be in the points, but that last mistake at the last lap sort of denied him any chance of any points. So a lot of drivers thinking maybe that they've got a chance to redeem themselves in the feature race. We'll have to wait and see how that pans out because obviously, with a longer race, it can suit your style. Some drivers where they maybe might have got past the limitations of the tires a little bit with a longer race, maybe they'll suffer a little bit more. What do you think's going to happen?
Yeah, to be honest, I think we might see a little bit of a similar pattern to what we saw in this race. Of course, it's all the people who have got the fastest raw pace, especially with that little bit of rain. People that are the most familiar with the circuit and have the best knowledge of the cars are going to be out on top, especially with slicks on a wet track. So I think the order will possibly be a little bit similar, but again, we're going to have to take into account some incidents, which are definitely going to happen, and also strategy. What's going to be the best? Is it going to be the regular strategies or the opposite strategies? We're going to have to wait and see what plays out, because again, might have some safety cars involved. We didn't have any in the sprint, so the feature could really shake that up as well. So I'm expecting a couple in the feature race. A couple of those safety cars, spice up the race a little bit, add some extra excitement. Not that we need much more anyway, but let's just see what happens. I think
we're about to get a driver in for an interview. Arsenault here, winning the first race of the season. It looked like you just pulled a gap in the first lap and just pulled off into the distance. Was there any point where you thought it could get away from you?
Yeah, I saw Scott coming in. I thought it was pretty much GG's. The pace, I think he had a better pace. I got lucky starting first. I don't think it'd be the same if I didn't start first, but we'll take it any day of the week. So
you had a little bit of a moment on the last lap there where you nearly hit the barrier. Yeah. How fast was your heart rate going?
Rain wasn't great for me. I'm not really good, especially with slicks. So yeah, I just had to bring it home, and I was really slow. Alex was coming in, so hopefully that was the last lap, because it would have been another story.
I just want to ask you, Arsenal, about that race-defining start that you had. It was a brilliant start. How did you get such a good launch off the line?
I mean, I just went for it. I don't know. It's been a great start. I don't think they had a similar start behind me, so they probably got stuck up on someone. I don't know, but it felt great for me, so I took advantage of it, and I kept the lead all race. So happy to get my first win in Creator Series. Hopefully we'll get some others, but we'll try to keep it real. We've got a quali, so we'll see my pace.
I was about to ask, what's your thoughts on the quali? Do you think your race pace is better than quali pace?
Usually my quali pace is better, but I'm not too familiar with F2s, so we'll see. But I think I can get up there. Maybe not first, but we'll just have to find out. Depends on if there's rain. Not really great again with rain, so we'll see.
No reports on that for the moment. Well, we'll wish you the best of luck, and perhaps we'll have you back in for an interview after the feature race. Who knows?
Yep, thank you.
Well, you sounded pretty calm about that, let's be honest.
Yeah, he very much underplayed the fact that he got a sublime start. It was just like, oh yeah, and it wasn't really much effort for me. A very calm driver, a Kimi Räikkönen performance, I think we've just seen there. So people that are so confident and relaxed like that, they're fast. I have high hopes for us coming into the feature race and the sprint quali.
Well, it was the confidence as well. When the rain started falling, he only lost time really on the last lap when he knew he had time to give away and just sort of got the car to the finish line without taking too many risks. I think Alex Gillen was really pushing his luck on that last lap, gaining 2 or 3 seconds, but it could have gone worse for him, let's put it that way. But then again, Alex Gillen, very experienced driver, so maybe if we see some rain, we have no reports at the moment whether it's raining or not. But it could favour the drivers with a bit more experience. But most of our grid here is quite experienced, it must be said.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, a lot of these guys have been creators in the F1 scene and the racing scene for years and years. So they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing, and they're also they're very good at what they do. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here in Creator Series. So let's bring it on.
I think we have time to go over the calendar for this season, and as you'll be able to see, there are a few gaps with a few question marks in there. So obviously Singapore, today there will be a fan vote on the 3rd round, but the known tracks for the moment are Mexico, Brazil, Las Vegas, Qatar, Abu Dhabi, and then a mystery GP to round it all out as well. So a lot of difference in this season, with obviously some wild cards coming into effect as well. So a lot less preparation time for our drivers, or chance to get fully 100% comfortable with the cars, let's call it.
I think one thing that really does benefit is the drivers who are kind of sort of naturally fast, the ones that just have insane amounts of talent, rather than the ones that just work really hard and practice a lot of the time. I think that's also going to encourage people to just kind of not, instead of taking it so, putting so many hours in, more kind of being a bit more relaxed and just enjoying, just having more fun and making it a lot more enjoyable for the viewers at home. I mean, what, I'm excited for round 10. I'm booking that day off to watch the race, because Qatar is an incredible track for F2 with the way that it all flows, and I'm excited for that race, that's for sure.
Looking at these cars, I think it could be exciting races at every track. It looks like there's no corner where an overtake is off the sort of charts or off the possibilities. So it's definitely looking very favourable for an exciting race season. And talking about that, we're about to get underway for the one-shot quali, starting in precisely 5 seconds time. So here we go, as the drivers will be getting out to their lap. We'll be following them around 1 lap exactly as on board for the moment with Formula Karim. Let us see then who has the quali pace, who has the confidence as we start the lap there down into turn 1, a big braking zone. You've got to carry the momentum through these first 3 corners, get the trail braking right, and just manage the understeer there. You can see the car's turning in, but the front wheels are sort of scrubbing. Once again, carry the momentum through this fast right-hander right onto the main straight. DRS activated, and just now spotting the least resistance path down to the braking zone of turn 7. Very important to get this right. Very little margin on the exit, going a little bit conservative there, I think, for Formula Karim, but he is first for the moment. So just the grip of the car a little bit on the understeer side, I think. So far, quite smooth, not a hint of oversteer at the moment, as Alex Gillen and Arsenault are currently your top 3, although that could change. One-shot quali, which means they don't get a second chance, as into the very slow section here. Very easy, as we saw in the sprint race, to just get a little bit of oversteer and sort of cook the tyres. Be interesting to see if anybody's pace drops off in this last sector, as onto the last DRS straight of the lap, as Dirk Chocolate has been disqualified from the session. So starting from the back, that is not ideal for them, and it's looking very, very close, as we see still drivers changing positions even into this last sector, down into the last chicane of the lap. And from this point onwards, it's pin the throttle and hope for the best, going around the last 2 left-handers on to finish the quali lap. a very, very fast lap from Formula Cairn, and I think he takes P1. What a lap, but what a close race behind him as well.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, it was only about a tenth back to Alex Gillen. Then it was about 7/10 of a second to Arsenault, who did finish P3. At one point, he had dropped himself down to P6, but now he managed to finish P3 in the end. But yeah, I think apart from those two at the front, extremely close all around, especially for those points positions. Of course, we're going to have seen some drivers who did make a mistake and will be a little bit more consistent when it does actually come to the race, as is one-shot quali. So it's all about that one lap pace, and yeah, they've done a fantastic job there to find themselves on pole and the front row. Let's bring it on. Let's bring it on.
What looked really interesting to me actually was the grip of the cars on board. You felt that they had a lot more grip than the previous generation F2 cars. And so I think that's helping drivers get the overtakes done or try for an overtake into an unconventional location, like some of these chicanes as we've seen. But also the car is starting to get even a little bit of oversteer on just one lap there. So on the super soft tires, it might become a little bit treacherous. What strategy do you think they'll go with?
Oh, I think that we're going to see a little bit of mix. Some people on the slightly softer tyres, then to the harders, and that's going to be the majority. But then there's going to be a couple of people, perhaps people who qualified a little bit lower down the grid, deciding to use the harder tyres first, go a bit longer, and then onto the softs later on. I think that strategy is very risky because obviously there's a high chance of the safety cars in the early laps where you will benefit, of course, because you can get off your softer tyre earlier rather than kind of being stuck in no man's land on the harder tyre until you can get it off later on. So it just depends. Clean race, I'd expect the harder one tyres to the softer tyres to work out a bit better. Let's see what the drivers have decided and what they bring to the table. All on the softs.
All on the soft tires. Not one person even considering going on the softer compound tire. Perhaps that is because there's fuel in the car, and so they do not want to be burning those softer compound tires up. Obviously, the lateral forces and indeed longitudinal forces with the braking and acceleration a lot more severe with the fuel in the car. So maybe it'll just be a sprint race at the end to determine it. We'll have to wait and see. If it was anything like the sprint race, it is going to be chaos from turn one, or even maybe before turn one, to after the last turn of the last lap.
Yeah, indeed, and all being on the same tyres as well. It's a completely equal start for all 21 drivers. So it's all going to be down to their skill and their getaway and their ability to also stay out of incidents. Sometimes it's not even about being the fastest off the line, the fastest lap point. It's about actually just getting through the first lap and then being able to settle yourself down into a nice rhythm where you can manage your tyres, in F2 manage your fuel, and just manage that rest of the carnage that is happening around you. You always want to be that sort of scene in Cars 1 where Lightning McQueen just kind of goes through the absolute carnage whilst everyone else is crashing. That's the kind of performance that you want for the first lap.
I'm just now picturing Formula 2 cars just bouncing off of each other vertically and being sent to space a little bit, which is an interesting thought to have as we're seeing various different tire warming techniques from our drivers here. Some of them being quite aggressive, it must be said, so not confident that the tires are up to temperature for the moment, especially with the harder compound tire on the car for this race. You want to make sure those tires are warm for that first turn so you don't lose as many positions. As I'm not really sure what's going on here because they're going very, very, very slow in the fact that they're not even at the last chicane right now. And so the drivers sat on the grid, their tires will be stone cold by the time everybody lines up, as we've got a bit of Tokyo drifting going on in the background. Just ignore that. That was incredible to see right there and just doing a little bit more warm-up before lining up on the grid. But you love to see it. Drivers being spectacular just even before the race begins. So they're definitely riled up for the race, that's for sure.
Indeed, let's. We're still going to get the rather questionable camera view of the getaway. But after we're there, we'll get ourselves onto some nice views of all 21 cars if they have finally lined up on the grid, getting ready to go racing. Yeah, I think the drivers that are quite lucky that there's no real life penalties for being too far back. Over to you, John, so take us away.
Here we go, lights out, and again it's a good start from the front two, but actually Arsenault dropping back a little bit here. Will he be able to retain third place? It doesn't look like it. It looks like Luke Howick's got the move done there, and it's done and dusted. Oh, contact! 3 contact between Adam Sanderson, Bigod, and Arsenault, as far as I can see. And the worst one coming off there, I think, is Adam Sanderson having a little bit of contact there. But in the background, also some more cars with F1 Alex, I don't think, leaving the grid for some reason. He's about 20 seconds behind, and we've got a virtual safety car. But I was more interested as to what was happening with F1 Alex there. A very strange incident at the start. Disqualified, indeed. I think maybe maybe had some sort of equipment problem, perhaps?
Yeah, it must have been because, he just clearly did not get off the grid. As soon as they started going, before they'd even reached turn 1, the yellow flags were flying, so it was pretty obvious that something was amiss there. And I think another unfortunate thing is Cry has picked up a 10-second time penalty for collision with Hayden Gullis. That's not going to be great for him coming into this rest of the laps we have remaining. Let's just see what he can do with that penalty. So we kind of just have a bit of extra tyre warming for the drivers until we go back to green flag conditions.
Indeed, I'm trying to figure out what exactly caused the virtual safety car in the first place. I'm not sure if there was any major contact, as Cryzix has retired from the session, so that's an interesting one. I think there's been contact in the background, because there's a few cars around. Ultra Killer, Dirt Chocolate, and Hayden Gullis, I think, has spun around, and Your Sincerity's out of the session. Looks like a collision between Hayden Gullis and Dirt Chocolate has caused that one. More cars as well, and it's looking like there might be a tiny bit of a problem, or we might be resetting the lobby here. It's certainly looking like that, because Demolition Derby is part of the game in F2, however, not to this extent, I don't think.
I think as soon as I saw Hayden Gullis just go straight into the barriers at 1,000,000 miles an hour, it was pretty clear we're getting a restart. And all this damage, this carbon fibre, one can only wish.
Yeah, this is the
we could collect those.
F2 Demolition Derby DLC for the Formula 1 game. You've heard it here first. It's a new game mode they're trialing, I think. Seems to be very successful and liked with our drivers, it must be said. So, yes, indeed, a lot of them, I think, just questioning what is going on. Maybe some have got the message, other people may have not got the message so far. But session has been red flagged. No kidding, there's about 10 cars on the track right now that are missing a tyre, I think.
Yeah, not the greatest of starts to a featured race, and it was actually a pretty exciting start. That also, the fact that we've also red flagged it makes me think that there was a bit of a problem. F1 Alex out of his control, and we've had ourselves to red flag it. As what is happening? What is actually happening with the MP car on the screen? It's
we
everywhere.
It's everywhere. I have never seen before. This is uncharted territory, I think, for most of the drivers and indeed possibly spectators here, as we've got cars just pushing each other into the barrier right now and spinning off backwards. Yeah, that's something we've seen in the sprint race, to be fair, so that's not unfamiliar territory. But indeed, it just proves how much chaos you can have. It was a good start, it must be said. I do think the drivers had just settled in. Obviously, you had that virtual safety car, but it looked like most of the field had got through the first couple of corners unscathed. And I think some drivers will be kicking themselves a little bit that we're possibly having a restart here. As, yeah, everybody has DNF'd apart from one driver at the moment. So, yeah, for some drivers, that'll be a sort of helping hand. For other drivers, it will be the last thing they wanted after a good race start, especially for the front two.
Yeah, no, they had a cracker of a ghetto, but yeah, Arsenal, I think he'll be happy. He'll get another go at it, as his start was not quite as good as his first one. So, yeah, I think, to be honest, most drivers will be happy we get a restart. It gives them a second crack at it. There's no real, I mean, there wasn't really too much to lose because people hadn't really gone many laps. So, and we had that VSC as well. I think most drivers will be pretty happy with the restart. And they also got to crash their cars, so I don't see a problem for them at all.
So going back then to the fixed setup, let's talk about that a little bit more, because we've seen drivers have difficulties getting a good race start. Lighting up the rear tires, a huge amount of smoke and wheel spin, and black lines left on the track as well. You need to do that in the formation lap, not on the race start. Just pointing that out for some drivers, perhaps. Do you think maybe after watching the cars now that perhaps the understeer isn't the biggest problem? It's maybe the rear tires and the tire temperature of the rear tires with this fixed setup? What do you think is still the biggest issue?
Yeah, I do still think it. I think it is that a lack of rear grip. They can, I think, understeer's something that you can control yourself a little bit more. You just have to maybe drive a bit slower. It's a bit annoying, but you can perhaps control it more than you without having that proper rear grip. Obviously, you can't really set your diff. Well, I think you can after you've started racing, but you can't use it in conjunction with your tyre pressures, your rest of your suspension. That also creates that extra traction, because of course the rear suspension is really important for that, and it will just be that sign. And I think also another thing, the suspension, obviously they're not going to be able to be as aggressive over curbs as they might have been, because their suspension will be at the default level. It can't be stiffer, it can't be a little bit more compliant for the bigger curbs, and they have to adjust their driving a little bit there as well. But yeah, overall it just makes it more difficult to drive. Out of everything, it just becomes trickier rather than easier.
Yeah, I was thinking of the sentence that everybody knows: jack of all trades, master of none. That can be described as the default setup. It can get around any racetrack on the calendar, however the performance will be differing between the tracks. And as we've noted, it's got a lot of difficult corners, high curbs, changes in slight changes in elevation or bumps on most of the corners. And of course, it's a street track, so the grip levels are naturally lower than on the dedicated track. Especially with the temperatures at Singapore, they're always very, very high, or humid, or both, depending on the weather there. So, yeah, it's not exactly the best in terms of friendliness to tires, friendliness to cars, or indeed in real life, friendliness to drivers. I think we will be having to redo the qualifying session, perhaps, is what I'm hearing. So for our drivers who set the perfect lap, once again, that will be another annoyance on the radar. They'll have to reset mentally and go again. A lot of drivers do that sort of mental switch between just nailing that absolutely perfect lap and getting into more of a driver rhythm for the race. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Who do you think will be able to get that perfect lap once again, Harry?
I think the two at the front, I think it's going to be the two that were at the front for us previously. I think those two are definitely being in contention again. I mean, they were 7/10 clear of the third place drivers, so I think those two are probably, it's going to be one of those two, I think, on the pole.
Well, here we go for one shot quali then. On to the lap once again. It's deja vu for you, for me, for everybody, and indeed for our drivers, as it's Be Good at the moment. Well, I say that, and now it's Formula Karim in the lead. There you go, right back where he was. Alex Gillen, way down the order there. Maybe he's missed the braking zone, turn 1 or something, but he'll be looking to get himself back up the order. As for the moment, it's looking a bit like it was on the first set of qualifying. We'll have to wait and see, though, down into this tricky braking sector of turn 7. I'll get my words out eventually, as being very aggressive with the curb there. I think is Hayden Gullis, and it's looking like he's really struggling, wrestling with the car. It's not as fluid as the lap that we saw from Formula Karim. You can really tell that he's maybe not gelling as well with the default setup. As you can see, a lot more understeer, a lot more aggressive on the wheel. Now, over the course of a lap won't be much of an issue, but over the course of a race stint where you're overheating the tires, that can be a lot of performance loss, can't it? I think we might have lost our co-commentator there, so I will carry on for the moment, no worries, and we'll get him back eventually. So Formula Karim and Alex Gillen actually now goes up to P2, so he's had a great second sector, as F1 Alex unfortunately will start from the back of the grid, it looks like. Infratic also, and Be Good, who went into turn 1 in first place, has not had a good end to the lap. And so we will get our second commentator back in just a minute, I'm being told. Just a small, I think, either issue or something like that. So Formula Karim is on pole once again, doing 2 out of 2. Alex Gillen lines up alongside him, and as Harry predicted, actually, there's a huge gap again to P3, which is now Adam Sanderson. Kreisitz P4, F1 Scott P5, Arsenault P6, Luke Howick P7, Gratz P8, Dirt Chocolate, and rounding out top 10 Formula Kai. Lovely qualifying session, wasn't it?
Indeed, and bang, right once more. Yeah, no, the gap was slightly smaller this time, only about 0.6 of a second, but still sizable enough. And well, we've got actually quite a different grid this time, haven't we? Arsenault a little bit further down, Adam Sanderson setting in a blinder of a lap for him to make himself on to the second row of the grid. But oh, let's just see.
We'll have to wait and
Yeah,
see. Sorry, carry on, Harry.
I think we've also just been told there might not be a formation lap, so we might be getting straight into the action. But that doesn't worry me in the slightest. I'm excited to get going and get this race underway.
Well, look, with the absolute shenanigans that we saw in the sprint race, I mean, what is there not to love? Let's put it that way. It's a very simple way of putting it, but I was astounded by the amount of action we had in that first race. We saw last season Singapore was a bit of a hit and miss race sometimes with the action, a lot of drivers conserving their tires a lot. I don't think I saw any of that in the sprint race, so this feature race is a bit of an unknown. Will we see some drivers starting now on the softer compound tires? Who knows? We will have to wait and see. All of the unknowns at the moment as we wait for the drivers to line up on the grid. Will there be a formation lap? Who also knows? But we will get that clarified for you at the earliest time. And it looks like it will be a formation lap. There you go. I was thinking there's one light, but is there 2 lights? No, there are currently 2 lights, but they are green. Formation lap indicator then as the cars go round once more to line up on the grid.
Right with one thing, wrong with another. We do have a formation lap, as he has stated, and everyone on the same compound of tyres once more. Let's just see if the guys at the back are going to dawdle round as much as the last time they had themselves a formation lap. Will they be a little more aggressive, try to get some heat in the tyres? Let's wait and see what they do. When we do look to them at the moment, I think there is a little gap. We have themselves a little gap, but I think they are definitely a lot closer than we saw last time around. That is for sure. Who's this? Someone straggling at the background there, perhaps a spin already. Oh my goodness, one of the primers. I think that was Hayden Gullis, absolutely sending it on already action on this formation lap. We did have a few drivers disqualify themselves, as always. Be Good and Yours Sincerely finding themselves with no tyre temperatures on the grid. That will be an exciting start for those guys. Yeah, I think coming off the line, going down into turn 1, I think we're going to see Formula Karim and Alex Gillen having themselves a pretty good start. I expect big things from Adam Sanderson after he put in that blinder of a lap. P1 please, Adam. That's all we could ask. Him in the lead. But again, we just have to wait and see what's going to happen. See how the strategy plays out. If we find ourselves a safety car or another lobby restart, whichever one plays out. As oh my goodness, one of the parameters is that Hayden Gullis just actually sending it on the formation map, or is that? I'm not sure which one that is. We can't really tell. But then.
There's a lot of drivers out of position here, it looks like, on this formation lap. Some of the drivers obviously getting a little bit of a ding with the barriers, and one driver doing a complete spin. That's an interesting way of warming up the tyres, I must say, for Dan Moran, but it'll definitely be warm, at least into turn 1.
Yeah, at least that for Dan. Yeah, I think we saw that a couple of times with a few drivers spinning and being out of place and sending, whatever. Now they're back. They're back all on the grid. Back to the fantastic camera angle. Let's get ready for the race start.
Only the best camera angles for the race start, as 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, and lights out and away we go. And again, a good start for our front two, but the third and fourth place get a very good start as well. Will Alex Giddens be challenged into turn one? He is indeed, as he gets up the inside of Formula Karim. And at the back, we've got Dirk Chocolate and Formula Kai going side by side as well. Adam Sanderson looking to try and get into P2, but Alex Giddens just blocking off the corner there and getting a good exit from turn three as everybody looks to get into the slipstream. Quite a good race start, a clean race start at the moment, as we've got multiple cars 2 or 3 wide in the background. Formula Car and Dirt Chocolate still duking it out there as Formula Karim just gets a lovely sort of send into turn 7 and is away, a bit like Arsenault tried to do in the first race. It'll be interesting to see whether he can do it again.
Indeed, yeah, pretty clean race start. Nice to see all 21 cars making their way through this time around. Plenty of action, plenty of squabbling, very much all in a single file line, waiting for the gaps to appear on the inside, the outside, the middle, upside down, wherever they appear, they are looking for them to be capitalising on. Formula Karim has got himself a good start. He's not quite broken, or he's almost broken DRS. He's very much close to that 1 second barrier. Already is in the midfield. There's a little bit of chaos. And look at Adam Sanderson thinking to move on Alex Giddens. He's going to try the cut back, but I don't quite think the grip is there for the Prema racing car, as they're going to sit right back in the slipstream now, trying to use whatever tools, whatever's at his disposal. He's a little earlier on the brakes. We do have a yellow flag, and Be Good has, I'm wondering if he's hit the barriers. He definitely has hit the barriers.
There's something's gone on because Yours Sincerely stopped on track at the... oh no, it wasn't Yours Sincerely, but Be Good stopped on track. I thought it was Yours Sincerely as well, but definitely some contact happening there. And we've got a virtual safety car once again. This time, I think, though, we will be able to remain in the session, and all the drivers will be just looking to preserve... Oh no, it's a full safety car. We have been debated once again. And indeed, anybody looking to pit at the moment will not be doing their mandatory pit stop, as we see another set of soft tyres going onto the car of, I think that was Dan Moran in the pits, or was that Hayden Gullis? So in both of them actually in the pits, as I'm seeing now on the indicator. So interesting for them. They'll obviously get right back up to the pack. They'll have slightly fresher tyres on lap 2. It shouldn't make too much of a difference, but they will be able to go at it again.
I don't know if it was just me, but I thought I saw Hayden Gullis pull into the pits and then just abracadabra out. I'm not sure. He just kind of like appeared and then disappeared. I'm not sure what's going on there, and it's still displaying virtual safety control. That will change soon. But no, yeah, interesting. Damaran is actually on the Supersoft. Sorry if I'm like really close to the camera. I actually have to look really close to see, because my little screen is a little small. But yeah, no, he's gone onto the Supersoft tyres, so he's going to go onto softs, I assume, once they've when we are back green in a few laps time, just to make that mandatory pit stop. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, whether he is a lot quicker. We'll see sort of how that pace is going out. As we did mention in the sprint about the higher fuel loads as well. It's not always the best idea to go on those the softer compounder tyres on the high fuel loads, as you get a lot more out of them when you're in the lower fuel settings towards the end, as you just are faster then anyway, and then you've got extra speed. It just kind of makes the time difference a little bit quicker. Yeah. Let's bring on the green flag. I think we'll probably
going
go at the end. Yeah, then we'll go.
Yeah, the safety car goes around. Yeah, safety car still is at the front of the pack. I can see it still on the track indicator, so they'll have to patient for another lap. And we see some other drivers pulling into the pits. I think that is Chesnoid Gaming pulling into the pits for a fresh set of tyres. I don't think this counts as mandatory pit stop. So it's at the end of this lap, if I'm quite correct. As the driver crosses the line onto the 4th lap, that is counted as a mandatory pit stop. But indeed, probably maybe some front wing damage, something like that, just wanting to get a fresh set of tyres onto the car. And no pit stop like Hayden Gullis, with Guido just changing the wheels in a split second and then away. So yeah, that was a normal pit stop that we had right there, as we've got a driver going slowly into turn 3. That's an interesting one. Not sure exactly what's going on there. to catch up to the back of the pack. That's Dan Moran, who pitted last lap, but it doesn't look like... yes, we've got Chesnoid Gaming caught up right to the back of him. That's an interesting one. What would be the strategy of that? Just wanting to preserve tyres a little bit?
No, there's no way that he's doing that to preserve tyres. That just wouldn't really do much, because obviously there's slower speeds at safety car. I mean, I was wondering that could be... I'm not really sure if he's trying to maybe keep the safety car out for another lap, but he's gonna catch the pack anyway. So whether he just... I'm not really sure, to be honest, whether he's just checking something or changing settings or whatever he's doing. I'm not sure if he's allowed to keep the safety car up, but no, he's going to catch enough. So
There
yeah,
are no rules, I'm being told, as to that, and I did think that it was a very clever idea that you came up with.
Yeah, maybe he was just doing some shenanigans in his setup. I'm not too sure, but it's important that he is still racing and still at decent speed. Let's see if it does keep the safety car out. Actually, that'd be quite interesting. We're just going to get the rest of the laps under safety car.
They're into the last sector now, so I'm not sure. Safety car is in this lap, so it has not changed anything. We are about to get under racing conditions once again, where Formula Karen will have to build that gap all over again with Alex getting right on his rear, warming the tyres a little bit. At what point will Formula Karen decide to go for it? He's got to wait a little bit for the safety car to peel off into the pits, but he can go at any point right now. Is he going to wait to the last second? He does. Just waits for Alex Gillen to be mid-turn to get a little bit better exit, and it has worked as Alex Gillen is under pressure from Adam Sanderson right now as he brakes very late. Does Alex Gillen? He managed to get to it stop, but that was incredibly on the limit. As you can see, it gets a little bit of a twitch from the rear. The rear tyres are already complaining, or Alex Ginn trying to get the most out of the tyres. Clean restart, it looks like. Guat's making up 2 positions we can see on the track map. There is contact and a collision, I think, with the wall. Somebody is spun off there, and it is Guat's, unfortunately, making up 2 positions, but I think he was on the outside and collected the wall on the outside there. So unfortunately, that has not gone well for him, and he'll be kicking himself a little bit. No safety car deployed, or even virtual safety car to help him, and I think he had front wing damage to boot.
Yeah, no, oh, look at, oh, it almost looked like there was going to be a slide. There's all sorts of manner of chaos there with Dirk Chocolate and Fratic. There must be 4 or 5 cars getting involved in that area where you don't see overtakes happen that often. You've got 2 good drivers side by side. That's your Sicilian Hoodie Pete, I believe. Oh no, someone half round, but he's lucky he's being collected again. So I think that was, I'm not sure, I think that was Will who had a little bit of a half spin, but he's back going once again. Oh no, the 2 teammates do collide. That's Damran and Alec. Again, a similar situation at what would have been a spin does not end up being a spin because of a nice collection, as they almost go 3 wide coming into the right-hander. And there goes Damaran. He is a little deep, but I think he's going to make that one work. He has very much indeed made it work and is up into P17 as Formula Karim does lead us around for another lap. He is ahead of Alex Gillen, but Alex only half a second behind in the DRS as well, dropping Adam Sanderson, who himself will be under some pressure from F1 Scott, Cry, Arsenault, Formula Kai, all in that train. I'm sure we're going to see Luke getting involved in a couple of laps' time, perhaps. It's going to be interesting to see how these DRS trains do play out. How many drivers can possibly get involved in one DRS train? I think that'll be a nice challenge for them to complete in this race weekend. But Alex is gaining on Formula Karim in the foreground as well. Let's just see what these guys, all these guys around the grid, can bring to the race as we get into the way from the start phase and into the mid phase of the race.
F1 Scott was looking incredibly racy into those very slow turns of turn 7, turn 8 and turn 9. He was looking for a way past, but it just looked like the door was slammed shut every single time with a late move, not into the braking zone, but just before it, just about legal. And I'm sure there will be a tiny bit of complaining behind the wheel, maybe, that it was a late move, as we see Alex Ginnon right on the back of Formula Karim. I really do think that this race is going to be defined by the person who does not make a mistake. We're already seeing the cars sort of complaining with the tyres in terms of grip, either understeer or oversteer, depending on the driver. So it will be the person who doesn't miss the braking zone, the person who doesn't get flustered by the pressure they're put under, or the frustration of not being able to make an overtake at the first occasion they have. For Alex Gillen, he's been in this position many, many times in the past. He is hunting down the leader, and indeed he is pushing that gap up to 1.8 seconds as F1 Scott looks again for the inside and is just not able to pull it off. That braking zone, very, very tricky if you have the inside suboptimal line as it merges into turn 2 and 3 seamlessly, as you'll get another opportunity now onto the main straight as Alex Gillen gets the DRS now, and he'll be able possibly to pull out of that slipstream, go to the outside of the turn, but it looks like he's got the move done already. The DRS very potent. F1 Scott is up the inside, and it looks like he's got the move done. Late braking, forcing the other driver out onto the curb, and it looks like he's been able to cover off the inside just as he just manages to close the door and get that position done. What incredible racing so far.
And no, very clean as well. Adam was actually, despite being on the curb, was still inside the track limits, looking to try and fight this one back, but F1 Scott defending his position right in the centre of the track. Very, very nice. I think there might be something going on with Dirk Chocolate, as there was a brief yellow flag, but that's all been sorted now. Not too much time lost, as there is 5 cars in this train, almost into the back. I think that was Formula Kai almost running into the back of Arsenault. But now some DRS for Adam Sanderson. Again, he isn't quite able to find the outside, find the spaces. F1 Scott defends with extreme precision as they now come back onto this little bit of a straight section as they are in the slipstream, and all very close for Adam, trying to find some space. There's also Cry in the background, almost thinking about this, doing the same on Adam, as we do have a virtual safety car then. I'm not sure what that's for. I think
there's contact in Sector 2. Somebody has spun off in Sector 2. I think that's Ultra Killer who has spun off and has yet to get going. There he goes on the track map, getting going. I think that was just maybe on his own. I'm not quite sure if there was any contact, but enough to deploy a virtual safety car. While we were commentating on that, there was an overtake for the lead. Alex Gillen just before the virtual safety car, fractions of a second before, managed to get up the inside into the last chicane and managed to get that move done. You can see they're almost side by side up front there, just waiting to get on throttle for that virtual safety car restart, which will be coming at any point as all of our drivers are underway. Some of our drivers in the pits actually changing tyres, so using the opportunity. Lap 7. I don't think it counts under VSC, although they're still in the pit lane, so will it count? We have no idea. As we get back under racing now, Formula Karim looking to get right back on the rear wing of Alex Gillen and get that move back as swiftly as F1 Scott looks to defend as well. But as you said, the gaps are ever so close behind F1 Scott, and it is kind of a DRS train. However, with these Formula 2 cars, it's looking like overtaking is definitely a possibility.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think where they're going to have the most difficulty is actually into turn 1, because coming out of your final corner, you are just such a similar speed. And look at this though, for Formula Kai, looks to the outside of Arsenault, not able to make that this time around. He now tries to think about a switchback, but it's defended well from the driver in front, as they're now back on this other little bit of straight. Oh, a bit of contact on the rear. Slight, maybe a little bit of later moving from Arsenault, a slight misjudgment from Formula Kai, as the RT has gone a little bit deep in the 16-17 chicane as they make their way around turns 18 and then through the left-hander of 19. And now some DRS active. But as I was, oh no, look at the DRS, look at the closing speed he has got. He goes to the inside of Arsenault, bit of contact, forced to the inside as Arsenault, but he's still going to be there, still fighting the car. Unfortunately not able to, but look at the speed he's got. I think that's given back by Formula Kai. That was a purposeful position change, I think, for forcing him off track. He might have been going an illegal overtake, but he did that very well as to not lose too much time. But look at this change for the lead once more under DRS. Formula Karim and Alex Gillen into turn 7 by fighting way. It looks almost like Alex was going to go for a move down the inside. He quite clearly has not. Look at Cry now battling away with Adam Sanderson, as I think F1 Scott has got himself a little gap as we now move slightly further back to Dirk Chocolate. Look at this 3-wide moment with his teammate. Oh, another Red Bull livery car, Test Will as well. As to the outside, Dirk, they're still going to be there. Just about avoids the barrier. I don't think you can fit a sheet of paper in the space between those two as they make their way down the inside line. Does belong to Test Will, and he's forced Dirk a little bit wide, but a bit of forcing is encouraged for aggressive racing. And Test Will finds himself ahead of Dirk Chocolate then. A great battle between those two. 3 wide at one point with Pondon as well. It's fantastic racing all round the grid.
That is the first time that I have seen an overtake in that corner. That is absolutely incredible stuff. These cars are delivering in terms of racing. As we've still got a race between Dirk Chocolate and Test Will. Dirk Chocolate going for the lunge all the way up the inside. And I think he's made it stick as well. Just squirreling on the exit, trying to get the grip down. And it looks like he's left him in the dust. And what an aggressive move, but it just shows that if you've just got that tire grip, if you've just got the car in the perfect operating window, you can go for late braking moves like that. Incredible, incredible stuff. And indeed, the racing continues way on to lap 9. It'll be interesting to see at what point our drivers will pit, because I'd assume that it's around this lap that the operating window for these softer compound tires would be coming into effect now. So we'll have to wait and see. Certainly for our super soft runners, at the moment, it hasn't worked out too well. They're running towards the back of the pack, so maybe the soft is the better race tire, let's put it this way, as Alex Gillen and Formula Karim still going at it, hammer and tongs right now, and they really, really are leaving nothing to guesswork. They are leaving it all out on track, let's put it that way, as Formula Karim will have another DRS straight here. He's a little bit further back for the moment, so it looks like it'll go down to another lap with Alex Gillen in the lead, as we've got another race here with Test Will, Dirk Chocolate, and now Yours Sincerely has joined the pack for some more action.
Yeah, indeed. Oh, a little bit of contact. So I think Dirk was a little... I'm not too sure exactly what happened, and that has invited Yours Sincerely to get right wheel to wheel with Test Will, with the DRS as well. He tries to find space on the outside, but it's just squeezed out as Dirk does continue to lead this trio as they make their way through into the final sector, down this little bit of straight that does exist in the Singapore circuit. To the inside goes Test Will, trying to replicate what Dirk Chocolate did to him. Unfortunately not able to do so, as they make their way down into the final couple left-handers and on into another DRS zone. Oh, into the pit. That's Test Will into the pit lane. I thought it was odd he dropped off the battle. He has just found himself into the pit lane. I think Formula Kai has had a little bit of a disconnect. We've also seen, I think that's Hayden Gullis. Oh no, that might be, yeah, that is Hayden Gullis. Also into the pit lane to get on some super soft tyres. As you said, John, now is the time drivers to be getting off these softs and onto the super softs.
I'm glad that I said that as pure guesswork, because it makes me look as if I know my stuff. So that's good news for me. But definitely, I was looking at just the cars, the way they were reacting. It was looking like some drivers were really struggling with the tires. I think Test Will has taken the early pit stop there, not for tire wear, but just to get himself out of that battle. Maybe thinking that if he remained in that battle, he'd probably get wing damage at some point or even out of the race. So just taking that early pit stop, trying to get an offset in terms of track position, as Alex Gillen and Formula Karim still going at it. We could rewind to 2 or 3 laps ago and it would be the same situation. They are just using the DRS, getting the slipstream, and indeed they're pulling away from the rest of the pack, with F1 Scott still defending like a lion from Kreisix and Adam Sanderson, although it looks like Arsenault Lukowic have dropped off the back at the moment, and into the pits goes Formula Karim. He pulls the plug on these tires first compared to Alex Gillen, and I think Alex will be kicking himself that he got undercut there. We'll have to wait and see whether this is the right strategy, because it's a long way to go on those softer compound tires, but obviously quite a few drivers now seeming like this might be their golden lap, let's put it that way.
Yeah, indeed, we do have a yellow flag in Sect 2. I don't see anyone stop. That is cleared now, as yeah, we've got all of the drivers. Most of the drivers are into the pit lane now. We've got Gwat still out there, Dirk, Pondon, Adam Sanderson, Cry and Alex Gillen, along with Hoodie Pete. Yours Sincerely are the only ones still out there. Of course, we've got a couple of drivers who have made their stops under the safety cars / virtual safety cars, but they will need to be in once more.
Interestingly, all of the drivers that had pitted on the first couple of laps for tires have gone into the pits to change their tires. So that's no longer a consideration for this race as Dirk Chocolate gets the overtake done on Condon. And so it's different liveried cars. Well, no, same liveried cars, just swapping positions and just getting on with the race. I think they'd be better off using the DRS to better effect and trying to get themselves back up more toward the front pack. Obviously, with an offset now, we've got to wait for everybody to pit to see exactly where they are now in comparison to everybody else. But for Dirk Chocolate and everybody else remaining out there on their initial set of tyres, they want to get clean laps in, fast laps in, or indeed a fast in lap right now, it seems, for most drivers, as we're seeing actually everybody pull into the pits now because they basically have no choice with everybody pulling the plug beforehand, and so they don't want to lose too many positions.
Yeah, you don't want to be undercut an insane amount of laps because otherwise you are just going to lose far too much time, especially when we've only got a few laps left in the race. It's better to get in when you can. Look at the pace. The super softs of Formula Karim then. He'll be looking to jump Alex Gillen. I thought his undercut was nice. Easy. Very well timed. Not too long out there, not too short out there. So let's see, I think...
It's easy.
Pardon me, yeah, Formula Karim.
Yeah. By about
3
easy. Seconds, I'd say. Yeah, 2.4 seconds.
2.5.
It's a credible strategy there. About 2.7 it's sort of evened out as, but we've got the tyre warming cycle as well to take into account, so maybe another couple of tenths of a second over these next few corners. But definitely, will the tyre offset be of a benefit to Alex Gillen? I think Harry, you're more knowledgeable than I am on that when it comes to the F2 car. So do you think, who's on the winning strategy, according to you?
Well, I think Formula Karim is still on a bit of a winner right now because he has just got such a bigger gap. I think, honestly, the offset is going to be slightly more than we might see on F1 tyres because the super softs do wear down incredibly fast. And, I mean, we saw the softs only lasted, 10 laps or so. So super softs, we can only imagine, are going to last 5 before they start going off. So that extra lap means a lot more than it might do in F1 for Alex Gillen. And look at the time he's already gained since Karim was stuck behind Dirk Chocolate. He's gained a little bit, so we'll see how that comes into effect. Perhaps some traffic coming into effect for those guys as well. But I think it's really still up in the air, but my money is on Karim right now just because of the gap he's got.
Yeah, he caught Dirk Chocolate on exactly the wrong place into the old Singapore Sling, or what used to be the Singapore Sling. So definitely the worst location to catch is Luke Howick trying to get past Infratic, but no way around at the moment. Although he's got great traction, thought about it. You could see he was thinking about it, and he's right on the gearbox. He's inspecting the rear wing, but safety car deployed for an incident involving Hayden Gullis and perhaps someone else, but I think he's spun on his own, to be fair. And I think he might be missing a front wing or so. Yes, indeed. His car is slightly lighter than it should be. Dirk Chocolate might be able to pit now and gain a lot of positions with his mandatory pit stop. We'll have to wait and see whether he does indeed peel off into the pits. I suspect so, but nearly losing the car under safety car conditions there. Dirk, you might want to not burn up the tires before you get into the pits, but who knows? He's probably just testing the grip. Knowing Dirk, we've seen his rallying skills in the past on these broadcasts, and so I think he had it all under control, he'd say.
I thought we didn't count mandatory pit stops under the safety car. I thought they had to be done in green flag. Am I correct, or?
Let me consult the rule book of 300 pages. I'm not quite sure. I think you might be correct, however. I was unsure whether it was virtual safety car or full safety car, I will admit. Bit hazy in that department, but we'll have to wait and see. Dirk Chocolate obviously knows the rules better than us, so we'll see whether he peels into the pits or not.
Yeah, no, I just wasn't too sure. If I'm wrong, it is on me, but interesting. I think we'll find that out sooner rather than later, whether that's allowed. But I mean, I'm just not sure because obviously that Create Series rules are slightly different. But Dirk is in. He is in, so it's probably illegal. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, it must
don't
be.
know.
It must be.
Yeah,
The big
that's true.
winner at the moment will be Alex Gillen, actually, closing right back onto Formula Caram, and he now has a tyre advantage. So
Yeah,
all of that good strategy and the winning strategy, as you put it, might be a bit more on the defensive now. Um, so we'll have to wait and see.
yeah.
Although, as you said, the tire deficit, 1 lap, it's not going to make a huge difference, but it might just be enough to get that one overtake done.
Yeah, I think I'd probably actually change where I've got my money and put it on Alex Gillen. Now they're basically the same gap. I think that extra lap that he's got in his tyre life is going to make the difference. But we'll see. They look pretty equal on pace, but it could just be they drive differently in the super soft tyres, so it still could be a little in the air. Maybe Formula Karam is absolutely rapid on the super softs compared to Alex. We just don't know. We just don't know, and well, we'll just have to find out. I think there will be a few laps of racing left. I probably reckon we'll probably get about 3 laps once the safety car comes in. Bring it on, bring it on. Let's see. This is going to be a very exciting battle to the end. But let's also not forget F1 Scott, Pry, Adam Sanderson, Arsenault. They're going to be there now. They're not a few seconds back, so they can actually make that difference when we do get going once more. So they could maybe, even if they aren't quite as quick as the other two, they can still smash into them if they're right behind them. So they could still make an impact that way. They could have spins, more safety cars. It's still very much up in the air at the moment.
Most certainly, and judging by where the safety car is on track right now, they're at least going to have to wait another lap. So, in terms of racing, we're going to have a very compact, very short racing stint. It's effectively an open lobby sprint race, let's call it, even shorter than that. So, I think people might be going for some daring overtakes. That's my prediction, especially seeing as the tires won't be worn down as much. So they'll have all the grip in the world to be able to just lunge into 1 or 2 overtakes and just completely burn up the tires. We might see some spectacular moments of oversteer, also trying to gain that little bit of extra traction and track position. So we'll have to wait and see as the safety car goes on to another lap, leading us onto lap 14. No, lap 15 now. I don't think lap 14. I thought we were already on lap 14, but obviously apparently
Yeah,
not. That's an interesting one.
not.
I'm
That is
getting
just as
conflicting data.
bungling
The
to me.
the the times that we have are saying lap 15, and there we go, lap 15 for some reason now. I think it's according to the driver we are spectating. I think that's how it works. So
Okay,
there we
that.
go. They are indeed
Yeah,
on
yeah,
lap 15. The numbers make sense now. I'm not good at
yeah.
maths, if anybody hadn't noticed.
I am good at maths, so that's rather embarrassing for me. But,
It's an interesting point of view. I think gravity has changed a little bit for F1 Alex, but you'll be looking to make that stick, and indeed an interesting perspective of the wheel. Sat very, very close to the wheel there. We're getting a glorious view of, I think that is the McLaren GT rim of the Fanatec base. A lovely wheel rim right there. And it's always very interesting to see what equipment people race with, because there's always a certain type of wheel or diameter of wheel that they like to use, and to get that peak performance out of the car and out of themselves. So yeah, equipment definitely matters, and him putting it on a pedestal there with his camera.
we're going to get it in this lap, so we are going to get 2 laps of racing instead of the 3 that I thought we'd get. 2 laps, better than 1. Let's bring it on. I think honestly it's going to be an absolute carnage fest. Carbon fibre is going to be everywhere. Cars are going to be spun round in the barriers, in the catch fencing, on the bridge rather than under it. It's going to be everywhere, and I'm excited for it. I'm here for it, honestly.
What's your prediction? When will Formula Karen go?
As late as he can. Literally what I think Alex Gillen did to him on the last restart. Just be going as late as he possibly can, sort of at that point where Alex is still round the corner when he's on the straight. So
He's gone early.
let's see though. Let's see.
He's gone early, yeah, he did. He went
has.
straight out of the chicane. He floored it, and I don't think it's worked out because Alex Kinnan is right on his gearbox already. Maybe even getting a move down into turn one, not quite, but F1's got defending from Kryzik's there, so definitely catching out the runners behind them a lot more than the front two, as Alex Kinnan is all the way there, using that one lap younger tyres to good effect, and he's got the best line, best exit. He's all the way behind him, and it's looking like they might go side by side into turn 7. Who is going to be brave? Who's going to be on the brakes? Alex Ginnan goes for it. Will he make it stick? Very late on the brakes, both of them forcing each other out over the curb. Formula Karim has no choice but to yield a little bit, but he chucks it up the inside. Contact, I think, between the front two. They get away with it, though. And indeed, Alex Gillen, well, emerges the victor there for the first lap, but we've got another lap to go, as I think we've had a little bit of contact in the background as Kryzik has got past F1 Scott as well. Oh, what a snap of oversteer for F1 Scott, nearly in the barrier, nearly doing a Kimi Raikkonen 2008, but gets away with it.
Yeah, no, indeed, great racing. Oh, look at this send to the inside for Dirk Chocolate. That was an almighty bit of late braking, but that has not paid off for him under the exit, as he does lose the progress he did make to Luke, as they all still are, as Guatz goes down the inside of Dirk as well, as he loses another position. Yours sincerely just off the back of him, along with Pondon and Hoodie Pete. Desperate, look at this line of cars, line stern, desperate to find gaps, desperate to find anything to get ahead and improve their positions and possibly score some points, as we do head on to the last lap of this feature race, what has been a fantastic bit of racing this Friday evening. And look at that, to the inside, a bold move for F1 Scott. He forced a little bit, forcing wide there from, I think, actually, sorry, that might have been Infratic.
Oh, as he loses the car as well on exit. He's lost 2 positions going for that move. And yeah, just ambitious, but he just couldn't get the tyres in the operating window and lit up the rear tyres. And now it looks like Luke Howick's going to have a move on Arsenault. He's got a 3-second penalty, so that will be on track, but not for position. As Formula Karim misses his braking zone and loses another car length to Alex Kinnan. Realistically, he's got one more opportunity to try and get that win, but Alex is so good at defending. Will he make it stick? I have no idea. This is spectacular.
Yeah, indeed it is. Just look at this train further back. This is obviously all for the points. Adam Sanderson, and this is actually F1 Scott this time around. No mistakes on this bit of commentary, but it looks like F1 Scott has got himself in a decent position. Adam will have this DRS zone, and then he will have the back straight, a little bit of contact. That is going to hurt Adam's exit a little bit more. I believe he will have access to the drag reduction system coming down here. He's not going to quite be close enough, I think, to make a move. It depends what this exit is like. It looked pretty good for Scott, looked pretty good for Adam Sanderson as they do make their way down this straight. Adam is gaining. He's gaining quite a bit. It's not going to quite be enough for Adam Sanderson. A bit of ghosting, bit of contact, but in the front, it'll be Alex Gillen who rounds round the final corner and wins the feature race here in Creative Series. The first one, Formula Karim and Cry. Oh no! That's Dirk spinning at the final corner.
Yeah. What a contact and drama, and none of them's going to get points in the end. Incredible stuff. I think they just went into the turn side by side. We saw it just off of our cameras, and just contact between the two, and it's put them out of the running. We did say it would be chaotic, and it delivered, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think it was that little bit of extra grip Alex Gillen had in the end with the safety car. It wasn't that if there was that 2 seconds, I think it would have been a little bit closer. Or possibly a Karim win, but that safety car really put a spanner in the works for him. But it did leave Alex Gillen with a fantastic victory, the first feature race win of the season then.
Indeed, and a hard-fought win, it must be said. I think Alex will be very happy that he managed to make that move stick and just managed to hold it until the end. He chose to maybe got a little bit lucky with the safety car closing in that gap for him, but you have to make the overtake on track. And for most of our drivers, they'll be looking at the little mistakes that they made probably in the race. As I said, probably a lot of mistakes it was looking like in the sprint race, and the feature race delivered on that as well. The fixed setup delivering in terms of spectacular action. I think that's been a great success, although our drivers may not say the same thing.
No, I'm sure they'll be glad that this is over, as it was a pretty difficult affair out there, to be honest. Especially in the sprint, we had a bit of rain. In the feature, we've had safety cars, carnage, and difficult conditions. But hey, they got through it. Some were winners. Some unfortunately lost out in the dying stages of the race after that restart. But I think it was very entertaining. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Let's see what the top three have to say about it.
Yeah, certainly from a commentator's perspective, it had action every single corner as far as I'm concerned. So definitely a win in terms of the viewers, that's for sure. I hope you were entertained by that race. We certainly sorry. English is a hard language, okay? But most definitely, I think, well, I'm struggling to think of a driver of the day. What do you think?
I'm sort of in a bit of a similar position. It's really difficult to really pick because everyone drove well. To me, there wasn't really anyone who properly stood out. Not putting down everyone's everyone's drive, because everyone was just so good. But it's really difficult to say, to be honest. I think I'm also a bit lost, a bit stumped on who I'd pick for driver of the day as well.
I'd have to pick, over the two races, if you combine them together, I think I'd have to pick Alex Gillen, just for the recovery drive from the back of the grid, essentially, on the sprint race, and then just the stellar quali laps P2, although Formula Karen beat him to pole on both occasions. It was just a masterful drive in the race, just demonstrating that he had just a broad capability as a driver to, just bring it home and be calm when he needed to, and gain the most points. So, but then again, we saw some outstanding drives from everybody, I think, on the grid. There was at least one good part of the race for everybody. For some drivers, obviously, it ended in disaster, but you've got to look at the positives sometimes as a driver and know that at a track like Singapore, many drivers' races will be ended early, put it that way.
Yeah, no, I think I'm going to have to agree with you with Alex. I kind of forgot about the sprint race a bit. So much has happened. I did forget he gained literally on the whole grid. So I think Alex is a pretty safe bet for driver of the day.
Most definitely. For Arsenault, we talked to him just after the sprint race. He sort of was mid-pack in there, didn't really get the qualifying sorted on that second attempt. On the first attempt he was P3, but just didn't hook it up in that second restart lobby there. So it's a case of what if he was at the front, showing very good pace, it must be said. The lap times he was delivering were good, just stuck in the pack, like a lot of drivers were stuck in that DRS train fighting for position, while the first two just got away from it. We'll see if we can get some drivers in for interviews at the moment. It looks like they are taking their time to pop into the interview section. So we'll have to wait and see whether we can get them in there. It'll be interesting to hear from their perspective, because from a spectator's point of view, it's easy to say that it was a simple race, etc., etc. From a driver's perspective, you're fighting for every single corner, every single braking zone, every single lap. And what can seem a boring race, we've heard it from Max Verstappen and other drivers in real life. It's been a cruise out in the front from a spectator's point of view, but from their point of view, it was pushing every single lap. So I think we've got Dirk Chocolate possibly in for an interview, although can we get our top three in? Let's see. I think we'll go to Dirk first. Let us see. Pause. Big pause. We are having small technical issues. There we go. We have managed to drag Dirk Chocolate in for a little interview. Dirk, it was a good race from you. Very, lucky with the safety car. However, it didn't end well. Can you talk to us about that?
I went for a gap, and then Fabio absolutely slammed it shut. So I don't know what happened. What happened there? I think we just had an incident, personally, a racing incident.
Simple as that. Just a collision. It happens.
You know, it was tight. All 4 cars, but everyone was around, and then like I think we all wanted points because it was like fighting for the point. And then like he went wide on the entry of the corner, so I'm like, you know what? Let me try and fit through there. And then we had a look. But I will say, right, he would have been absolutely fine had he not given up and straight line. So he would have finished like P11, P12, and then he just straight lined it into a wall.
Doug, I just want to ask you, what was the most difficult thing about driving without a setup for this race?
Absolutely nothing. We were all in the same boat, so I don't think there was any issues. Everyone was the same place. It was just literally driving. I think it was more the unpredictability of what others are gonna do. That was the weird thing. So there was a lot of inconsistencies, but otherwise, like once you get a good flow, you're absolutely fine. I actually liked it.
That's not the answer I was expecting to hear. To be fair. I was expecting you to complain about understeer, about oversteer.
Yeah, but we're all understeering, or we're all oversteering, or we're all braking in weird spots. I was just kind of like, okay, we don't know what's gonna happen here. Let's go for it.
Do you think that maybe freed up the overtaking situation, made the race a little bit more unpredictable then?
Unpredictable for sure. That is definite. But I just, to be fair, out of all things, I just enjoyed that it was just fun and not sweaty. No one had like an OP setup. We're all like just kind of in the mud together.
Fair analysis. Well, not the result that you were expecting, but some entertaining racing, that's for sure. I wish you better luck next time on that overtake, but then again, you went for a gap, you feel like a racing driver. I think it's all good, right?
Yeah, that is exactly it. And plus, Fabio can let me know how my rear wing looks as well, since he finished behind me.
And on that bombshell, thank you ever so much for joining us in the interview room.
Cheers, guys.
Oh, you got to admit, he has a lot of fun every single week, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's always a positive to see him having fun. But who have we got next? Who's coming in next? Which driver have we got coming in for us next?
Might be able to get Formula Karim in for an interview, I'm being told, and here he is.
Hello?
Just missing out on the win, but the quali pace was exceptional, must be said. Do you think there was any opportunity in that last lap to go for that P1?
I don't think I could have re-overtaken him, but I do sort of have regrets of not defending the corner he overtook me on the inside. But yeah, I wanted to get that outside line and just get an exit and then keep the inside for the next corner, but it didn't pan out like that.
And Karim, is there anything you think you could have done differently from the strategy point of view to counteract that? Of course, you got a little bit unlucky with the safety car, kind of negated your undercut a bit. Would you have changed it differently? Would you have known the safety car was coming?
If I knew the safety car was coming, I would have pitted in the safety car. But my undercut was it was always going to happen. I always wanted to either pit the same lap as him on lap 10 or undercut him, and I got a 2.5 second undercut, so it was working. But yeah, just unlucky with the safety cars today.
Well, safety cars are something we can never anticipate, to be fair, as drivers. But you must be happy with your pace overall. Okay, it's not a victory, but you know, you were fighting at the front, and I don't think anybody apart from Alex could match your pace. So a good sign for the rest of the season. Think you can be racy at the other tracks?
Yeah, it's a good sign because Singapore's a pretty difficult track, and obviously we were on fixed setup today as well. I was surprised by Alex's pace, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, technically 2 pole positions in the book, so I'll take that. P2 as well, that's not a bad debut.
Just quickly on the default setup thing, what was your opinion on that? We've had an opinion from Dirk, but let's hear your opinion.
It definitely made the car worse to drive, like feeling wise, but I didn't really mind it. Yeah, because it didn't really have much understeer, so yeah, as long as I can change the brake bias, I'm fine with it.
Fair enough. Well, he's confident, isn't he, Ari?
Very confident. That's always lovely to see in a driver.
Well, Formula Karim, it might not be a victory this time, but maybe further on in the season. Thank you ever so much for joining us in the commentary box.
Thank you, guys.
And all the best for the next races.
Thank you very much. Great commentary as always, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's listening to our commentary during the race? Well, that's new. Maybe we'll be able to get Mr. Alex Gillen in for an interview as well. The race winner of the feature race, the one that everybody wants to win. Where did you think you won that one?
Well, I mean, I think the last safety car definitely helped. I mean, my experience of F2 compromised me on strategy. I thought I could overcut, but Karim gained like 2.5 seconds on me. So I think the last safety car, honestly, was what brought me back. I was going to try my hardest to see if I could catch him again, but with so few laps left, I think it was going to be P2 from that phase. So a bit of safety car luck for sure today. I'll take it.
Now, Alex, what was your experience? You've asked everyone else. What was your experience driving with no setup?
I don't mind it. I quite like the level playing field. I've always quite liked fixed setups. Yeah, sure, it's quite unsteery, but it's the same for everyone. In everything I race, iRacing included, I like fixed setups because there's nowhere to hide. If you're slow because you're bad, and that's it. There's no getting around that, which is what I like, you know. And if you're half a second off pace or more, you've got to go, well, what am I losing? Because I know it's not set up. Whereas when in a setup session, it's so easy to go, oh, this guy just had a sweaty setup, oh, his setup was better than mine, and etc. etc. Or he had the right settings on, nothing to do with the driver, and I'm a better driver than him. It's so easy to say that. So it's so nice to not be able to say that. But I do think, I've got to say, despite all that, I do think Karim had a little bit better pace than me today. And as I said, nowhere to hide in terms of setup. So yeah, GG's to him. It was an awesome race.
I think all of the drivers have conspired to give us the same answer about default setup. I was expecting completely different answers, but
really?
Apparently everybody's got the consensus that it was great because everybody's on the same playing field. So that's fine, to be fair.
I think if you get default F1, you might get different answers. I think some people in F1 might complain a bit more, to be honest. But maybe F2 people are enjoying the default a bit more.
As maybe a last question for you, Formula Karim sort of said he regretted not defending enough when you went for the overtake. Did you always have that plan to go into turn 7 with the overtake, or were you thinking you could overtake in different spots? How was your overtaking experience in general over the two races?
Yeah, it took me a while to build up to it because unfortunately I've been quite busy today, so I've literally didn't do any laps before I jumped in. I have done some F2 of the new car this week, and I raced Singapore and F1 yesterday, but no F2 practice around Singapore. So yeah, the start of the sprint race, I had no idea where to brake and stuff. It was a bit of carnage, but by the end of the race, I'd sort of built a bit of confidence of where I could brake. I would say probably not as much confidence as I've got in the F1 car, but still. And yeah, in terms of the move, I mean, you can't plan where to go for it. You know, DRS was the same until the end. It was a case of just hoping he had some sort of opportunity, trying to get the best runs possible. He seems to be pushing quite hard, sliding around quite a lot. So I thought, well, I've just got to hope for the opportunity, and it presented itself. I had a run on him and the slipstream. To be honest, I'm amazed he didn't defend the inside. I really am. With no DRS to the end, the inside is king. I only just had a run on him, I think. When we hit the brakes, I think I was just barely front wheel to rear wheel, maybe, no further than that. So it was barely alongside. So if I was around the outside, realistically, that move was probably not going to work. So I cannot believe he's given me the inside. But look, it's a gift that I will absolutely accept, because I think it would be very hard to overtake if he was going to defend any harder. And yeah, he wasn't the cleanest of moves I would like to make, to be completely honest as well. I turned in a little bit early, trying to make sure I left as much room as possible. I ended up hitting the curb, and it bounced me out into him, which squeezed him a little bit wide. It wasn't the kind of move that I'd like to make. It's a bit of a mistake by me to hit that curb, but you know, that's racing. When you're on the inside, that's the problem. That's why you've got to have the inside line. You know, around the outside, you haven't got the control. That can happen. He can be bounced wide, and then you're through you go. So would have liked a cleaner move, but you know, I'll absolutely take the gift of the inside line. Can't complain.
I think I can say for both of us, Harry, that that was one of the cleaner moves that we saw over the entire two races. So I don't think you've got anything to worry about on that front.
Well, I'll take that.
But in any case, wonderful to hear from you. You must be very obviously ecstatic with the race result, and yeah, all the best for the next races in either F1 or F2.
Cheers, guys. Just want to say as well, GG's to Creator Series and coming up with these new rules. I'm really excited to see not necessarily a different rule set. I think it might be a bit extreme, but you know, the wild card today having a fixed setup. I'm excited to see what they come up with. I think it's really going to be really cool to mix it up each week. So and I'll certainly race F2 whenever I can as well, because it's great fun. So yeah, cheers, guys.
Wow. Confident. What can you say? It just felt like he had that pre-planned somehow. I don't know how. but that's obviously the difference between a good driver and a great driver. Pre-planning your race.
Yeah, indeed, and I think as all of them said, really, I think we saw who had the best raw pace today with no setups whatsoever. So, yeah, no, it was interesting to see that they actually rather enjoyed driving on no setup. Not honestly, not what we've been talking about the whole evening, talking about how they're not going to enjoy it, they're going to complain. But no, they actually had a lot of fun with it, which is actually nice to hear. That they weren't just miserable and moody in the cockpit; they were actually excited and smiling, as we did see with a few drivers when we were with their face cams.
I think one of the biggest things for me of these two races was actually the turnaround in terms of the sort of play of the races. There was possibilities for overtakes, and Singapore, which is one of the tracks where overtaking is very difficult with the previous F2 cars. And okay, maybe default setup played a tiny bit, but I think the cars in terms of overtaking were a lot better, and we saw overtakes in corners where normally you don't even think about overtaking, you just remain line astern, and that was a definite, I'm going to say an improvement from a spectating point of view, and I'm sure from a driving point of view, you always want to be going for the overtakes. So maybe a rating out of 10 for that race. Let's get a cheeky rating.
I'm going to give that an 8 out of 10. I think that, I don't really know what it was. It wasn't missing much. That's for sure. There was safety cars, there was crashes, there was incidents, there was overtakes, there was battles for the lead, there was last lap overtakes. It was missing nothing.
Oh, indeed. And possibly for more action over the weekend, we have the F1 series live tomorrow evening around the same time. If you want to have a look at some more, action and battles, I'm definitely sure there's going to be a lot of battling on track. That's for sure at racing at Singapore, I think, as well. And if you plan to watch more rally action, there is always the broadcast of finale on Monday, and you can catch all of that with all of the links up there that you can see at F1 Creator Series for most of the social medias. And there's always a lot of content and overtakes and crashes that are posted over the weeks. So it's, all the action live on all of these channels. Harry, any closing thoughts possibly?
Oh, bring on the rest of the season. That's all I can say. If every race was as good as that, I think we'll be in for a great affair for not only the drivers, but the commentators and the spectators as well. So let's keep going. It was a great race.
So where can we find you at your social medias and stuff?
Just on TikTok, h.lacey05. You can find me there. That's pretty much the only one that I have public that you guys can view.
Fair enough. You can find me as amusing. You can normally find me on a rally car crashing into a tree at various different locations, various different times of year, season. It doesn't really matter. There's always a tree involved somehow. Sometimes Gareth might say my driving is good, other times very, very bad. In any case, you can tune in on Monday to watch everything unfold. Shout out to our producer, Gareth, as always, doing all of the cameras in the background and making sure we're watching all of the carnage unfold. But from us, it is time to wish you a very good evening or day wherever you are in the world, and to say until next time, thank you ever so much for watching, and bye bye for now.